Welcome back. Welcome back. Your man Diamond K in here. Diamond K in the morning on the all new radioonfire.com. See if we get this thing going. A lot of things to get into today. A lot of news out there. Thanks for joining me, by the way, on all social media. Looks like at the Diamond K Show at Radio on Fire. Man. Once again, the former president doing things differently than others with regards to being the under investigation, criminal investigation. The Trump organization, not a company that you can trust, it appears. I'm going to get into that. New York AG Letitia James making some announcements last night. We're going to talk about that. Here in the program, we deliver the biggest political and trending news stories of the day with interviews and original reporting from across the country. Emanating from our studios in Baltimore and Atlanta. Show is fun, show is upbeat, but I also want to expose what is really going on in this country. And as I said at the top of the show, there's a lot going on. Radio on Fire gives you the American story from the Black perspective, Black American perspective. New episodes of the program drop Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., but I don't want you to miss any of our live broadcasts in addition to our 8 a.m. show. We drop content throughout the day as news happens. Hit that notification bell so you get an alert whenever we go live. Talked about this earlier, and that is the passing of legendary comedy writer, stand-up comedian, actor, Paul Mooney, passing away today, 79 years old. I want to say rest in peace to a very, very funny guy. Very funny guy. Talking about that. Suffered a heart attack, by the way. And had a chance to see him live in Baltimore. And he didn't look like himself at that time. And this was several years back. So as I said, 79 years old, and definitely from everybody here at Radio on Fire, we want to send our condolences to the family and strength and all that. So back to the former president Donald Trump. When it seems like he can't get any lower, when it seems like his corruption has peaked, more stuff happens. So as it relates to the Trump organization, we knew that there was an investigation going on. We knew that. And the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, investigating Trump's business, the Trump organization. So she's investigating that business. Now it turns out that this is happening in a criminal capacity. This is need I remind people, this is the former president of the United States. So the state attorney general is joining forces with the Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance, and he's been conducting a separate criminal inquiry into Trump's business practices and possible insurance and financial fraud, as well as alleged hush money payments to the two women that we have heard about quite some time. So the president in the past has refused to cooperate with the investigations. No surprise there that he is refusing to cooperate. I don't think that that's going to hinder anything. But that's just what's happening. So he's refusing to cooperate. They are pushing forward nonetheless. So a brief recap. The collaboration between the state and the local offices is an unusual event in itself. They don't normally do this. So the New York Attorney General and the District Attorney have historically been rivals. Historically, they have not gotten along. But of course, in this instance, they are on the same page. And I'm glad to hear that because we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to figure out what exactly is going on. So big questions still loom as it relates to this investigation. And what is going to, is there going to be any real consequences for this organization, the Trump organization? Can you imagine if Obama was under criminal investigation? Can you imagine? Trump's probably not going to go back in New York again. Attorney General collaborating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Possible bank and tax and insurance fraud. So Letitia James, her office filed a lawsuit over the summer to compel the Trump organization to comply with the subpoenas for investigation into whether the former president and his company improperly inflated the value of its assets on financial statements so they can get loans. You or I did this. This is no problem, open shut. But this guy has been slick and slippery and hard to pin down. Of course, representatives of the Trump organization did not immediately respond. They don't have a lot to say about this. The former president, Donald Trump, said in a statement, "These investigations have been going on for years with members and associates of the Trump organization being viciously attacked." Of course, you know what I mean? You want to talk about a victim. He plays the victim card like no other. He says he went on and says that they're viciously being attacked, harassed, and threatened in order to say anything bad about the 45th president of the United States. Right. This would include having to make up false stories, he claims, without providing evidence. I'm sure that there's a lot of evidence. So numerous documents, all prepared by large and prestigious law and accounting firms, have been examined, and many hours of testimony have been taken from many people, some of whom I have not seen in years. This guy is unbelievable. This guy's unbelievable. It is not clear at this point. Whether or not Trump or members of his family are potential subjects of the state's criminal investigation. I'm sure that Trump's hands have been off of a lot of things. So if anybody goes down in a criminal manner, it's probably not going to be him. As for what might be uncovered by this investigation, that's interesting. What will be unearthed by this? Trying to prosecute Trump University, if you remember that debacle. The current inquiries could benefit from the way Trump's businesses are set up. I said that he's slick and slippery. He has been playing this game for a long time. One of the things that people need to remember about the Trump organization is that they are a very small operation, ultimately. Basically run by a very small handful of people. They outsource most things. That was something that has protected the Trump University and during that case, because it was meant that they were trying to get the documents that they needed from third parties, even after the Trump team stonewalled the investigators. So it's set up in a way to protect Trump and his family and those on the inside of that. So James' office began looking into the Trump organization, the Trump business, and the real estate holdings as part of a civil matter over what it is said was a potential pattern of undervaluing properties on certain official forms and then grossly overvaluing them on others to avoid paying taxes. This is fraud. I mean, this is fraud. All they need is the evidence, but the actions in themselves is fraud. Investigators confirm that practice took place and that it was done deliberately. It could translate into criminal charges. So they said that they have informed the Trump organization that the investigation into the organization is no longer purely civil in nature. Spokesperson said, "We are now actively investigating the Trump organization in a criminal capacity, along with the Manhattan DA." So what's next? What does this mean exactly? The first major public step would be an indictment. And if prosecutors decide the evidence warrants criminal charges, they'll need to act quickly because the statute of limitations would come into play for some of the past transactions. So if this is going to go down, it's going to happen relatively soon. Vance warned last summer that if the potential case against Trump isn't handled with urgency, the statute of limitations on some of these charges would effectively give Trump immunity the former president tried unsuccessfully to claim in court. So we're getting down to the wire. We're getting down to the buzzer. After a while, this is not even going to be an issue for any of them. And I'm sure that that's something that Trump is banking on, is hoping happens. He would love to get away with this scot-free. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Of course, Diamond K in the morning. New episodes dropping 8 a.m. wherever you get your podcasts. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, WRF Radio, and Radio on Fire. We have a brand new app that will be dropping in June for Radio on Fire. So excited about that. But as far as the Trump organization goes, time's going to tell what's going to happen there. I'm predicting nothing, but it has been interesting theater to watch. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a whole lot of nothing. So when 35-year-old Andrew Giuliani announced that he was running for governor of New York earlier this week, many people just laughed. I mean, he's funny. I mean, he, I guess, thought that he was going to erase concerns about his very young, very tender age, 35, but he's going to be the governor at 35. So he makes some just idiotic statements, and he usually makes idiotic statements, right? Usually does. So here's the math of a Trump supporter, the average Trump supporter. Giuliani, the son, Andrew, has never held public office. I guess he figured that being the son of a former New York City mayor, Rudy Giuliani, should count for something. She should get something out of that, right? Apparently, that is why this brainiac suggested that he spent parts of 5 decades in politics. Parts of 5 decades. He's 35. Of course, that didn't hold up to the most basic fact checking. But Giuliani, the younger, he wanted to double down on these ridiculous claims. Here is Andrew Giuliani.
What makes you qualified for this?
Sure. Well, I am the only candidate that spent parts of 5 different decades of my life in politics or public service.
How do you get 5 decades?
I think it's going to go over with New York.
Parts of 5 decades. Let me clarify. I said parts of 5 decades in there. So if we go back through it, my father's first campaign was 1989. So we could do the math. I spent 32 parts of 32 years in politics.
He spent parts of 32 years in politics. So he was 3 years old. He was, I mean, a lot of the things that Giuliani does are ridiculous. And maybe it might seem like a 3-year-old was aiding him. But Andrew Giuliani claiming that he spent 32 years in politics when he's 35 years old is absurd. I mean, I have a hard time trying to understand how involved a child could be in a political campaign, because he obviously was not involved in any policy discussions. Andrew Giuliani running for governor of New York. That is something that I guess I assumed that I could possibly see happening, but any chance of winning, I mean, this guy is ridiculous. Welcome back. Don McKay in the morning on the all-new radioonfire.com. Make sure you visit us for the latest news, culture, and, of course, the hottest music. radioonfire.com. Send your songs. djdonmckay@gmail.com. But radioonfire.com is where you go. So Maryland is the latest state to approve a law allowing college students, the athletes, college athletes, to earn money from endorsements. Maryland's Governor Larry Hogan signed the legislation earlier this week. The Republican governor also signed a separate measure to implement sports betting in the state, as Maryland is going to join other states who have legalized sports wagering since the Supreme Court cleared the way back in 2018, and we talked about it then, and it seems like it is finally going to happen. Maryland voters approved sports betting on a ballot question in November, and a bill has been signed by Governor Hogan, which includes provisions for how sports betting will be implemented in the state of Maryland. The law will allow sports wagering at casinos, the stadiums where the state's 3 professional sports teams play, and horse racing tracks. This is big. The state also is allowing 30 licenses, 30, for businesses that want to offer sports betting, and up to 60 more licenses for online betting. Sports wagering could begin as soon as this fall. So some sports and gambling fans say this is long overdue. I think this is long overdue, as there's a lot of money in this. Can definitely say that. This bill is also an important statement that our state government is going to prioritize the health and financial needs of some of our student athletes. So that is major. That is major. Action by the state legislatures has put pressure on finding a national response to avoid patchwork from state laws. They could just have one thing that was just across the board. That would be amazing. But I doubt that that's going to happen. More than a dozen states have approved laws to allow athletes to be compensated for the use of their name, image, or likeness. I mean, for years, they've been making money off these student athletes. And now finally, it looks like there's going to be an opportunity for student athletes to make some money. Do you think that this is a good thing? Do you think this is a bad thing? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire, of course, DJDiamondK at gmail.com. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. So last week we were talking about gas shortages, gas prices, lines at the gas station, all because the Colonial pipeline was hacked. And this was the largest supplier of gas for the Southeast, the East Coast. Colonial Pipeline confirmed that it paid $4.4 million to these hackers. $4.4 million. They are the operators of the nation's largest fuel pipeline. And they confirmed this payment to this gang who broke into their computer systems. They announced this and said today that after it learned of the May 7th ransom attack, the company took its pipeline system offline and needed to do everything in its power to restart it quickly and safely, and made the decision to pay the ransom. The decision was not made lightly, they said, but it was one that had to be made. Tens of millions of Americans rely on Colonial hospitals, emergency medical services, law enforcement agencies, fire departments, airports, truck drivers, and the traveling public. So they said that it's your fault that we had to pay this. No, it's one of those things. I wish that it didn't happen, but FBI, of course, discourages making ransom payments to ransomware attackers because paying encourages criminal networks around the globe who have hit thousands of businesses and healthcare systems in the United States in the past year alone. It's encouragement, the FBI says, when you pay the ransom. Many victims of ransomware attacks, where hackers demand large sums of money to decrypt stolen data or to prevent it from being leaked online, usually opt to pay. And they target people that can afford to pay. So the FBI says, no, don't pay them. I mean, what would have been the result of them not pay? They had no choice and they had the money. So FBI, you need to do a better job of investigating. But if they get hit, they got to pay it. They could not pay it. I mean, multiple sources had confirmed that Colonial Pipeline had paid the criminals. Associated Press put it out there first that Colonial Pipeline paid the ransom of nearly $5 million, so $4.4 million. And this was paid in cryptocurrency for the software decryption key required to unscramble their data network. So you want to talk about being backed into a corner. They didn't have a choice. The pipeline system delivers about 45% of the gasoline consumed on the East Coast. And Colonial is based in Alpharetta, Georgia. And they halted their supplies of fuel for nearly a week. That led to panic buying, gasoline shortages, prices going up from Washington, D.C. all the way down to Florida. So the pipeline restarted about a week ago, and it took some time to resume a full delivery schedule, and the panic buying that led to the gasoline shortages. More than 9,500 gas stations were out of fuel on Wednesday, including half of the gas stations in Washington, D.C. 40% of the stations in North Carolina out of gas. and the FBI says, don't pay the ransom. Right? These are probably also say people like we don't negotiate with terrorists. We are the terrorists, but we don't normally negotiate with terrorists. Welcome back. Don McKay in the morning on the all new radioandfire.com. Thank you for joining me. On the other side, deputies involved in the fatal shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. will be reinstated and retrained. 3 North Carolina deputies that were involved in this shooting will be returning to duty. As I said, they're going to be reinstated, retrained, and disciplined following their excessive use of force amid the encounter with the late Andrew Brown Jr. Brown was approached by deputies who set out to search his vehicle for drugs using a search warrant. He was asked to stop his vehicle, but reversed the car instead of complying with the officer's orders. Officers claimed that he drove the car in their direction. He actually hitting them twice is what they said. And the officers then fired. More shots were fired into his car as it continued to accelerate forward. He eventually came to a stop. Paramedics were called, and the autopsy revealed that he was hit in the shoulder, and the bullet to his head was the fatal shot. And that resulted in his death. During a press conference yesterday, the sheriff, Tommy Wooten, announced that disciplinary action would be taken against the deputies involved. He also said that they were justified in their shooting. If they were justified, and what is this supposed disciplinary action is going to be taken? It's contradicting itself. Anyway, he said that they would not be criminally charged and would be allowed to return to work. He said this, that when you employ a car in a manner that puts officers' lives in danger, that is a threat. District Attorney Andrew Womble added that after playing the clip of the video, and I don't care what direction you're going, forward, backwards, sideways. I don't care if you're stationary, and neither do our courts and our case law. There you have that. According to Chantel Sherry Lassiter, the attorney representing the Brown family, the late man's relatives are outraged and very disappointed by this decision. She added that she was unaware of what disciplinary actions against the authorities were going to take place, and they said that they think it should be severe. I don't see how it's going to be severe. They're getting their jobs back. They're gonna have to go to some training classes, watch a few videos, sign some papers. I mean, this is not discipline. So she claims that they did not follow their own policies and they were not being safe during the entire interaction. I know in Baltimore, when guys are riding dirt bikes on the street, police don't even chase them anymore because of the danger that it causes during the pursuit. Because you had so many situations where police cars were crashing into cars that weren't even involved while they're trying to chase these guys on dirt bikes on the streets. Because doing that puts people in danger. So I'm drawing a parallel here. But, you know, the family wants to get access to the investigation report into the shooting. And if you've had an opportunity to view the video, the family wants to view the video in its entirety instead of a clip on the screen like we saw today, that we can make get more clarity about what happened. They said that they want more transparency. I think that it is sad what happened. There's so many things that we wish had happened differently. Just a sad case. I just don't understand how they claim that these officers are going to be disciplined, but they're going to be reinstated and retrained. And they're going to be retrained by the same folks that trained them in the first place to do this wrong stuff. Judgment. These are issues of judgment. I don't know if you can teach judgment. You either have good judgment or you don't. And what they really need to change is who they hire. Who they hire. Your man Diamond K. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Los Angeles police confirm the active investigation into Atlanta rapper T.I. The Los Angeles police confirmed that they are investigating a sexual assault case involving the rapper and the actor, known offstage as Clifford Harris, named specifically in the investigation. The news comes 2 months after a New York-based attorney asked the Georgia Attorney General to file criminal charges against the rapper. Attorney Tyrone Blackburn claimed more than 30 women from various states contacted him and accused the rapper and his wife of abuse, stretching back some 15 years. And now it has been confirmed. NBC Los Angeles reports that T.I. is under investigation. The New York Times also spoke to one of the alleged victims, who said that she believes she was drugged while socializing with the couple, T.I. and Tiny Harris, at a LA nightclub. A spokesperson for T.I. said that they have received no word from the police on this investigation. The Harrises have not spoken to or been contacted by the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, the Las Vegas Police Department, or indeed any member of law enforcement from any jurisdiction in any country. The country, right? I mean, this case is just such a bad look. Such a bad look. It appears that the LAPD accuser has chosen once again to remain anonymous, thereby preventing us from being in a position to disprove or refute her allegations. I mean, I don't understand why they need to know who it was in order to refute it. Did you do this or didn't you? They needed to see who it was. Is it her? Oh, no, we didn't do nothing to her. Like, either they did something or they didn't. Attorney representing the accusers released a statement on the investigation. We are pleased with the latest development from the LAPD. They showed great concern and are moving forward with an investigation into the allegations of abuse, rape, and drugging by Clifford T.I. Harris and Tamika Tiny Harris. In response to their counsel's request that these women come out publicly, the protection and safety of these women are my biggest priority. Ending violence against women, especially women who have suffered in silence for years, is my biggest priority. Their identities are known to law enforcement, and that's what matters. We await further updates from the LAPD. This is not good. This isn't good. The case in Las Vegas has been dropped because the statute of limitations ran out. So I guess that's a victory for, a hollow one, but a victory nonetheless. The attorney for T.I. and Tiny, of course, is pushing for the accusers to be identified. I don't know why that is. I mean, he says it's so they can defend themselves, but also there would be such a great deal of public scrutiny on these women if they were identified. And I think that they're counting on that. So the Fulton County District Attorney's Office in Georgia has not confirmed or commented on anything at this stage. So we don't know what's happening there with regards to that. But all of this looks bad. All this looks bad. I mean, it's bad no matter how you look at it. For the women, for T.I. and Tiny, it is just a bad situation. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Of course, I am here weekdays, 8 a.m., diving through, dissecting some of the top news stories of the day. If you missed any episodes of our shows, and we have many shows here at Radio on Fire, you can go to youtube.com/DJ Diamond K, or anywhere that you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, WRF Radio, and the newly to be launched Radio on Fire app. Very excited. Very excited.